Erica works at the Railway Security Service. This morning, she received an emergency alert. There's a person with fake documents trying to escape to Canada by train. Erica and her colleagues found 3 suspects who look almost the same. Can you identify a criminal just by looking at one's passport? No matter what country a person is from, no passport can have a photo with mountains in the background, so these documents are fake. Bob is a college teacher. He invited his worst student, Dan, for a conversation. Bob wants to test the guy's logical thinking. He says, "If you tell a lie, I will expel you from college, and if you tell the truth, I'll still expel you." What should the student say to stay in college? Bob should say, "I'm telling lies." This phrase will create a paradox because it cannot be a lie or the truth. Nancy has 10 bowling balls. Her brother Josh decided to check her intelligence, so he asked Nancy to place those 10 balls in 5 lines, such that each of the lines has exactly 4 balls on them. Can you help her accomplish this task? She should draw a 5-point star and place the 10 balls occupying the corners and the intersection points. Voila! 5 lines with 4 balls in each row. Kevin has been hitchhiking in a desert for hours. Finally, one driver stopped and said, "I will give you a ride wherever you want, but first, you gotta crack my riddle. Which letter can make the road larger?" Can you help Kevin solve this task? The letter B can turn road into broad. Alex is a shepherd. He had 30 sheep, out of which all but 13 ran away. Can you calculate how many sheep Alex has now? He has 13 sheep. The phrase "all but 13 ran away" actually means that all except the 13 escaped. Take a look at these 3 prisoners. The first guy pushes the iron bars. The second guy shakes muscles with dumbbells. The third guy sits and reads a book. There's a picture hanging on the wall. Can you say for sure who's likely to escape? Take a closer look at the third guy. Can you see the sand under the painting? He must be digging a tunnel and covering it with a picture, so he's the one who wants to escape. All Becky's shoes are black except 2. Also, all Becky's shoes are red except 2. And all Becky's shoes are yellow except 2. Can you calculate how many shoes Becky has in general? Just 3, one of each color. Dr. Smith prescribed Dan expensive vitamins. He gave Dan 2 bottles labeled R and B. The pills are entirely identical. The doctor asked Dan to take 1 pill daily from the R bottle and 1 pill from the B bottle. He can't take more or less than that. One morning, Dan was taking out the pills. He took out 1 pill from the R bottle as usual, and then, by mistake, he took out 2 from the B bottle. Now Dan has no idea which pill is which. He can't just throw away the expensive pills. What would you suggest? Dan should cut each of the 3 pills in half and put each half in 2 piles. Now each of the 2 piles will contain half of pill R and 2 halves of pill B. Now, Dan should take 1 more pill from the R bottle, cut it into half, and put the 2 halves in 2 different piles. This way, we'll know that each pile will have 2 halves of pill R and 2 halves of pill B, or 1 complete R pill and 1 complete B pill. Dan can take one pile today and keep the second pile for tomorrow. I am red, but I smell like blue paint. What am I? Red paint. Timmy's mother has 3 sons. She named her first son April. The next one's name is May. Can you guess the youngest son's name? And the correct answer is Timmy. Pretty obvious, huh? Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? The reflection in the mirrors doesn't match reality. What about this picture? Can you see anything odd? These 2 ladies seem completely fine, but there's a bandage on this guy's leg. No one would go to a swimming pool if they had big scratches, unless they're a zombie. The king of octopuses has sons, who have 6, 7, or 8 legs. The one with 7 legs always lies, but the one with either 6 or 8 legs always tells the truth. On a certain night, 4 sons meet and chat. The blue octopus says, "We have 28 legs altogether." The green one says, "We have 27 legs altogether." The purple one says, "We have 26 legs altogether." And the red octopus says, "We have 25 legs altogether." Can you identify the color of the sun who's speaking the truth? The green sun is telling the truth. To prove it, let us first assume that one of them is telling the truth. Obviously, 3 of the 4 suns lie as they disagree with each other. Let's suppose that the blue octopus is telling the truth. In that case, he has either 6 or 8 legs. And each of the other octopuses is lying, which means they have 7 legs. In this case, the total number of legs will be 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 27 legs, or 8 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 29 legs. But the blue octopus said that they have 28 legs altogether. Therefore, he lies. Now we can follow the same logic and check the remaining 3 suns. And we'll find out that only the green octopus is telling the truth. I have an eye, but cannot see. I'm faster than any man alive, but have no limbs. What am I? The correct answer is hurricane. I know a word of letters 3. Add 2 and there will be fewer. Can you guess the word? The correct answer is few. I have a beard without being a man. I'm green, but I'm not a lizard. I'm white, but I'm not snow. Who am I? The correct answer is leak. A wicked wizard has imprisoned Billy in his tower. Billy ran away from the wizard, but now he needs to choose between these 3 doors leading outside the tower. There's a toxic gas behind the first door. The second path is full of poisonous scorpions and snakes. And behind the third door, there's a pride of lions which haven't eaten for 3 years. Which way is the safest? The third one. The lions can't starve for 3 years and still be alive. Monica adores real estate. She used to spend $300,000 per house and acquired property worldwide. She realized that she had too many houses at one point, so she started selling them at $30,000 per house. How is that possible if she was obviously losing money? Before selling her property, Monica used to be a billionaire. Since she started losing money, she became only a millionaire.
Look at these two people. Can you guess which one of them is just dressed up and is not a woman in reality? It's this one here, the one in the pink dress. Look closer. She's blonde, but has dark hair on her arms. Also, you can see some naturally dark hair slipping under the wig. Okay, let's try to find some more imposters. There are two pregnant women. Can you tell which one isn't really pregnant? It must be this one. She has a big belly, but her choice of high heels is very questionable. Look at these two. One of them is a mummy that escaped from ancient Egypt. Don't ask me how, it doesn't really matter. Just find the mummy. What's your choice? It's this one. Look at the ankle. There's a piece of bandage slipping out of the pants. Dira came to a hospital for an x-ray. Two doctors are ready to accept her, but one of them isn't a real doctor. Take a close look at them. Who's not a real doctor here? It's this man here. See, he looks nothing like the person in the photo on his badge. He must have stolen the uniform. Mrs. Cook left for a business trip, and three of her daughters stayed at home by themselves. When Mrs. Cook returned the next day, she found her car crashed. Obviously, one of her daughters had taken it and had crashed it by accident, but none of the three took the blame. Sage said that she hadn't left the house. Leora said that her friend had picked her up for school that day. Amaya said that she had taken the bus. Who crashed the car? Look inside the car. There's a purse. If you were attentive, you could have noticed that the day Mrs. Cook left, Amaya had this purse. So it was her who had crashed the car. Naya woke up on a Saturday morning after a long and hard week. She was very hungry, so she decided to make herself breakfast. Naya had a dozen eggs. She broke 3 eggs, fried 3, and ate 3. How many eggs are left? There are 9 eggs left. Naya broke, fried, and ate the exact same 3 eggs. Esme was walking through the forest and got lost. After hours of wandering around, she found a witch's house. She walked in, pet a cat, and asked the witch to take her home. The witch was making a new potion and asked Esme to give her a plant from the shelf. Esme walked there, but there were 5 of them. "Which one?" she asked.
"Not the one right in the middle, and not the smallest one. Also, don't take the one that's next to the pink flower."
So, which one does she need? That's the one on the very left then, or the pink flower itself. But in that case, wouldn't the witch just say so? Probably. She seems satisfied, so Esme is going back home this time. Mova was in a local park and noticed a purse. Someone must have forgotten it, so she took it to Lost and Found. They accepted it and said they would give it back to the owner. At the end of the day, 3 women came in and demanded the purse back, each stating that the purse belonged to them. Take a look inside the purse and decide to whom it really belongs. Look, there's lipstick in the purse. There's just one woman who's wearing lipstick of the same color, and it's this one. So the purse must belong to her. Let's stick around in Lost and Found for a while. There are more things to give back to their owners, like this wallet, for example. There are 3 people claiming that it belongs to them. But which one is the real owner? Look, there's an ID card. It has a photo of this guy, so it must be his wallet. There's a backpack, and 3 people are demanding it. You can take a look inside. Who do you think the backpack belongs to? There's a jacket that matches this girl's trainers perfectly. It must belong to her. Can you pick the owner of this purse out of these 3 people? Look, there's a charm on the purse that says Ella. This girl in the middle has a necklace with a pendant saying Ella too. It must be her purse. Yvonne and Liana are exploring a forest right outside their town and find an abandoned hotel. Of course, they walk in to look around. When they walk into one of the rooms, a cage falls and traps them inside. There are 3 potions. Each of them will only last 10 minutes. If they drink the purple one, they will turn into the first animal they can see. If they drink the blue one, they'll be able to fly. If they drink the orange one, they'll switch bodies with each other. Which potion should they drink? Look, there's a little mouse in the room. If they drink the purple potion, they can turn into a mouse and will be small enough to escape through the cage. What they do afterward is another matter. Inez was studying in a boarding school. She often stayed in the library till late because, well, she didn't want to spend time with her roommates. One day, she found a dungeon. Of course, she walked in to see what was there. She found a pile of old books and a journal filled with weird symbols. Can you help her decode the name of the person this journal belongs to? For each letter, there's a unique border and dot combination. To decode, Inez just has to find the respective letter. If she does it right, she should get the name Marion.
Eddie and Lucy decided to go camping in the forest for the weekend. However, they didn't know that it was protected by an angry spirit who didn't like intruders. He appeared in front of them and said,
"You have set foot into my forest uninvited. You will not be able to leave. Forget your home. With it, you will never be reunited."
"We apologize. We didn't know the forest belonged to you. Please let us out. We won't ever come back," Lucy cried. The spirit replied,
"I'll show you mercy, for you are sincere. Mysteries of my forest await you. Solve them all, and you will be able to leave."
Then he magically teleported them to the deepest, darkest part of the forest and vanished out of sight. As Eddie and Lucy walked around trying to find their way out of the forest, they came upon a river. They had to cross it to continue their journey. There were 3 different bridges in front of them. Which one should they choose to move to the other side? Do you see the weird river monster hiding under the stone bridge? It looks dangerous. And the wooden bridge looks so old, it can crash at any minute. So, they should choose this one. After Eddie and Lucy crossed the bridge, they saw 3 different paths in front of them. The first road led to a cave where giant hungry trolls were living. The second road led to the house of evil witches who needed human blood for a spell they were casting that would allow them to stay young forever. And the third road led to a swamp where an 8-headed snake was waiting for its prey. Which path should they follow? They should choose the third road because if you look carefully, you can see that up ahead, the road is forked too. It means that there's a 4th path they can take if they continue walking on this one, and they won't end up in the swamp after all. When they arrived at the end of the 4th path, they saw a wizard's hut. They thought he might be able to help them, but the gate was locked. When they tried to force it open, a magical quill came flying towards them from one of the windows of the hut and started writing a riddle in the air.
"The only being who can let you in is my familiar Arthur the Owl. He must be sleeping on a tree at this hour. To convince him, you must bring him his favorite flower. Yet, if you cannot spot him in the next few seconds, I can't help you, and forever in this forest you'll have to wander.
Can you spot where the owl is? Look there. Eddie and Lucy managed to spot not one, but 3 owls standing on a tree branch. Only one of them was Arthur. If they don't figure out which one of them is Arthur, they won't be able to get help from the wizard. The first owl said, "The third owl is not Arthur." The second owl said,
I am not Arthur.
and the third owl said,
I am Arthur.
However, only one of them was telling the truth, and the others were lying. Can you figure out which one is Arthur? If the first owl was Arthur, then both he and the second owl would be telling the truth. If the third owl was Arthur, then he and the first owl would be telling the truth. But only one of them is telling the truth, remember? So the second owl must be Arthur. Once Eddie and Lucy figured out which one was Arthur, the remaining owls flew away. Then Lucy asked him what his favorite flower was. Arthur answered with a riddle.
I can grow very tall. I am of the color yellow. When I am young, I follow the closest star in the sky. Can you tell what flower I am?
Arthur's favorite flower is the sunflower. Eddie and Lucy had to bring a sunflower to Arthur for him to let them in. They asked him where they could find one, and Arthur told them that they could get it from the sunflower field that was located between the cornfield and the wheat field. When they asked which direction they should go, Arthur said this.
If you went east, took a right turn, covered some distance in that direction, then took a left turn, and finally took another left turn, which direction would you be facing? That's the direction you must go.
Can you tell what direction that is? It's north. After Eddie and Lucy had walked for some time, an angry leprechaun jumped onto them out of nowhere and knocked them out with fairy dust. They opened their eyes in a prison cell. The leprechaun said,
You stole my pot of gold and you're going to stay in this prison until you tell me where you hid it.
Eddie said, We don't know anything about your gold, but the leprechaun didn't believe him. Suddenly, Lucy saw something strange that could help them. There was another prison cell in front of them with 3 different prisoners. Lucy noticed that one of them was going to try to escape. She suggested making a deal with the leprechaun. She said, I will tell you which prisoner is planning to escape if you let us go. He's probably the one who stole your gold, and I promise we'll help you find it once you free us. The leprechaun agreed to the terms. Take a look at these 3 prisoners. Can you tell who's trying to escape? It's the 3rd prisoner. He has a map sticking out of his pocket. He must be up to something. The leprechaun took the map from that prisoner and let Lucy and Eddie go. He said,
But now you have to help me find my pot of gold.
Lucy noticed a couple of notes at the back of the escape map. The first one said, Find the pot o' gold in the fields o' gold. What do you think that means? Remember what Arthur said? He informed Lucy and Eddie about 3 different fields: sunflower, corn, and wheat. These 3 things are all yellow or golden. It could only mean that the leprechaun's pot of gold is in one of these fields. The road from the leprechaun's prison to the fields was foggy. They lost their way and arrived at part of the forest that even the leprechaun didn't even know about. Eddie immediately noticed 3 unusual things. Can you spot them? Even though it's still daytime, the place is dark. The mushrooms on the ground are actually tiny houses. And finally, one of the butterflies flying there in the distance is no butterfly at all. It's a fairy. As soon as Eddie spotted the fairy, it flew next to them and said,
The fairy mother wanted me to bring everyone food, but when I asked what she wanted, she only said this. Remove the outside, cook the inside, eat the outside, and throw away the inside. What I want is what this is. But I don't know what that means. Can you help me, please? Do you know the answer?
it's a corn on the cob. Anna runs a chocolate factory. She offers all her clients a special deal. Anyone can exchange 5 chocolate wrappers for 1 chocolate bar. Robert spent 2 weeks collecting the wrappers and managed to find 77.
Yeah.
Can you tell what maximum number of chocolates he can get from Anna? Robert can get a total of 19 chocolates. Here's how it works. First of all, 77 wrappers can be exchanged for 15 chocolates with 2 wrappers left. After unwrapping the new 15 chocolate bars, Robert will be able to exchange 15 wrappers for 3 more chocolates. Now he can use the remaining 2 wrappers and the new 3 wrappers to get 1 chocolate bar. 15 plus 3 plus 1 equals 19. Henry is an astronaut from Earth. He landed his spaceship on another planet in an unknown galaxy and began to explore the city and its citizens. Very soon, Henry felt a desperate need to go to the restroom, but when he saw these 2 doors leading to the ladies' and gentlemen's bathrooms, he got really confused. The problem is that Harry doesn't speak the local language, and he can't ask which door is for men and which is for women. Thankfully, he met a local guy, Mo, who could understand English. But he can speak only his native language. What 2 questions should Henry ask to figure out the right door? He should point at one of the doors and ask, "Is this the men's restroom?" Then he needs to remember Mo's reply and ask, "Am I a man?" If Mo says the same word, then the restroom Henry is pointing at must be for men. And if Mo says a different word, the restroom is for women. There were 9 candies in a box. 9 people took 9 candies, but 1 candy is still in the box. How can it be possible? It's pretty simple. The last person took a candy and the box. This way, 1 candy remained in the box. On a cold night, 4 friends were roaming around the neighborhood. At one point, they tried to get under one umbrella, but the umbrella was too small. However, all 4 of them managed to stay dry. How can that be possible? It's possible because it wasn't raining. Meet Erica and Jim. Do you have any idea why he pushed her? Because they're shooting a movie. Do you see that cameraman reflected in the window? Billy organized a betting game for his friends. According to the rules, he will place 2 candies, 1 yellow and 1 red, in a dark box. If the player picks the red candy, they will get $5,000. But if they pick the yellow candy, they will have to pay $500. Unfortunately, Billy's a liar. He put 2 yellow candies in the box instead of 1 yellow and 1 red. Billy's friend Wendy watched the players losing the game one by one. But when it was Wendy's turn, she won $5,000. How did she do it? She picked a candy and, without showing it to anyone, ate it. Then she picked the remaining candy, which was yellow, and showed it to everyone. Billy had to admit that the first candy had been red. Otherwise, everyone would find out he was a liar. Nina went speed dating and met 3 handsome guys. The next day, each of the guys asked her out. Can you help Nina make the best choice? Brad didn't even ask the girl if she wanted to go to the restaurant or not. Besides, he's pretty rude and bossy. She barely knows Rob. It's not safe to go to his place alone, so Nina should choose David. He looks nice and polite.
Hello.
Amy has 2 strings. The only thing she can say for sure is that when you light one end of either string, it takes exactly 1 hour to burn. Can you help Amy measure 45 minutes with the help of the strings? She should light both ends of the first string and one end of the second string. In 30 minutes, the first string will have burned completely. To measure the remaining 15 minutes, she should light the second end of the second string. When it's fully burned, we'll know for sure that 45 minutes have passed. Adam is a famous opera singer. He's going to perform for the king and queen for 7 days in a row. In return for his work, they should pay him 1/7 of a gold bar per day. Adam doesn't accept prepayments. He requires a daily payment, which is 1/7 of a gold bar. What's the fewest number of cuts they should make to be able to pay Adam each day? Just 2. Here's how it works. Day 1, cut 1/7 of the gold bar and give it to Adam. Day 2, cut 2/7 of the gold bar and give this piece to Adam. He'll give you 1/7 of the bar back. Day 3, give the singer the 1/7 piece you received the previous day. Day 4, give Adam 4/7 of the gold bar and he will give you the 1/7 and 2/7 pieces as change. Day 5, give Adam the 1/7 part of the bar. Day 6, give him the 2/7 piece and get the 1/7 one as change. And finally, Day 7, give Adam his final 1/7 piece of the gold bar. Jenny and Sam arrived at a picturesque campground. They had to set up a tent. There were 3 good spots: in the forest, in the field, and near the lake. Which place should they opt for? The best option is to choose the field. Wild animals live in the forest. As for the lake, look, a zombie is hiding in the bushes over there. Probably not the best neighbor. George was walking down the street. Suddenly, a wizard popped out of nowhere and teleported George to his castle. He offered the guy to choose between these 3 doors. There's a hungry tiger behind the first door. There's an angry dinosaur behind the second door. And the room behind the third door is filled with toxic gas. Which door should George choose? The second one. Dinosaurs went extinct millions of years ago. Jerry has an apple tree. The number of apples on his tree doubles every week. After 30 weeks, the tree is completely covered with fruit. Can you guess how many weeks the tree needs to get half covered with oranges? Oranges don't grow on apple trees, but if I asked you about apples, the answer would be 29 weeks. Because, as we know, the number of apples doubles every week. In the ocean, there's an island. On the island, there's a house. In the middle of the house, there's a glass of water. Inside the glass of water, there's a coin. What's in the middle of the ocean? The correct answer is simple, the letter E. Harry went to a party. He liked these 4 ladies. He wanted to talk to one of them. Which one should he choose? Take a look at the first lady's hand. She's a zombie. The second lady has a vampire bite on her neck. She can turn into a vampire any minute and ruin the date. And the fourth lady is a ghost. So Harry should go and talk to the third lady.
Hello.
John's father has 3 sons. There's Jack, a quiet, intelligent student. Then there's Jason, a popular athlete. So who's the third son? It's John. His father has 3 sons, Jack, Jason, and him, John. One day, a teacher decided to give her students a test, but all of them refused to take it. She could give detention for skipping the test to only one student. All of them knew each other's names. If a student knew they were going to get a detention, they agreed to take the test. How could the teacher make all the students participate? She told him that she'd give detention to the student whose name came first alphabetically. Then this person wouldn't skip the test, the next person on the list wouldn't skip as well, and so on until the end of the list. Randy was at home, sitting in his chair with a book. Suddenly, his sister's super expensive vase fell and broke in the living room. He ran there in time to see a stranger jump out of the window and run away. Randy tried to chase him, but his glasses fogged up because of the cold, so he couldn't see the person. When the police arrived, they immediately knew he was lying. He'd broken the vase himself. How did they know? Glasses don't fog up when you go from a warm room to the cold outdoors. It's the other way around. Michael Winston, who dislikes modern art, rushed into the city gallery and caused millions of dollars worth of damage to several paintings. Yet, the manager of the gallery thanked Mr. Winston for his actions. How come? Michael was a firefighter. The water from his hose damaged several masterpieces, but he still managed to extinguish the fire and save many more exhibits. Look at this line of people at the checkout in a supermarket. They're all a colorful bunch, but one of them is trying to sneak out food out of the store. Can you tell who just by looking at them closely? You might have thought it was the pregnant woman because of the fake tummy, but look! She's wearing comfy sneakers without shoelaces so that she could slip them on easily. The guy in a baggy hoodie sure looks suspicious, but it's not food he's hiding inside his pockets. It's a kitten. And the real culprit is the guy behind him. Look at his sleeves. One of his arms looks way bigger than the other. He must be hiding something in there. A man dressed in black from head to toe was walking in the middle of the road. All of a sudden, a huge black car with its headlights off came around the corner and screeched to a halt, not to hit him. How on earth did the driver of the car see the man in black? Well, the only reasonable answer would be that it was in broad daylight. Nobody said it was nighttime after all. 3 college friends met after a summer break and were sharing stories about their vacation. Lily described how she and her boyfriend had gone to Paris and seen the city from the top of the Eiffel Tower. Dylan told his friends that he had traveled to Africa with his parents. But on their last day, there was a massive volcanic eruption, and it didn't spoil their vacation only because they flew home that day. And Ellie said that she had visited her uncle in Texas and learned how to ride a horse. One of the stories was fake though. Which one? Dylan's story is fake. He couldn't fly home on the day of the eruption because when something like this happens, all flights get canceled. Mark and Amy got stranded on a tiny uninhabited island full of sand and rocks, but not much else. They had no radio or cell phones, and there were no trees on the island to make a smoke signal. Suddenly, Amy noticed a plane circling the sky in search of them. She got a bright idea to make it notice them. Soon after, the plane picked them up. What was Amy's idea? She suggested using rocks to spell out SOS on the sand. Mike was studying for a big test in the school library. It was already late when he finished up and suddenly heard someone shouting for help. The voice was coming from behind a locked classroom door. Mike rushed there and opened it. Inside, there was his classmate, Brad. He told Mike that he'd gone to grab a bite in the cafeteria, only to find it was closed that day. Suddenly, he blacked out. And the next thing he knew, he was locked in the classroom. Mike promised to find out who had done this. By morning, Mike had 4 suspects in mind. When school started, he interrogated them. Matthew told him he'd been doing his homework in a classroom. Emily said that she'd been with Matthew, but later she'd gone home. Olivia claimed that she'd been having lunch in the cafeteria, and Chris explained that he'd been sick that day. It took Mike no time to figure out who was guilty. It was Olivia. She couldn't have been eating lunch in the cafeteria because it was closed that day. Clara was in her hotel room when she heard someone knock on the door. She looked through the peephole and saw an unfamiliar man. He said, "Hi, I'm the hotel manager. Sorry to bother you, but our database has crashed. Could you let me in to confirm some information?" Clara immediately rushed to her phone and called hotel security. Can you figure out why? The badge on the man's chest says Chloe Smith, and that's a female name. She knew the man was a fake manager. Emma's mother asked the girl to go to the supermarket and gave her a shopping list and a bank card. But in case Emma forgot the card's PIN, her mom also gave her a little clue. When Emma was already at the checkout, she took the clue out of her pocket and immediately recalled the code. Can you say what number it was if the clue was a sheet of paper with a fly, a cat, a girl, and a snake drawn on it? The PIN was 6420. Emma just had to count the number of legs of each creature. Littlefield was a tiny village where nothing ever happened. But one day, Mr. Richardson, a rich farmer, arrived at the police station in tears, saying that 2 of his best cows were missing. There were 3 suspects, and each of them had to answer one question. "Have you taken your neighbor's animals?" Mr. Anderson said that he and Mr. Richardson had a common business and that he wouldn't risk their partnership. Mrs. Martinez stated that she'd been living in this village since birth and she wouldn't spoil her reputation because of some animals. And Mr. Jones explained that his family had been breeding pigs for centuries, and he didn't have any reason to steal cows. The police officer figured out who the criminal was. Can you? The thief is Mr. Jones. How did he know that it was cows that were stolen? Nobody had told him the animal species. A woman was having breakfast at a nice restaurant. At one moment, she noticed a fly in her coffee. She was indignant and made the waiter bring her another cup. After he returned with a new cup of coffee, she shouted, "What's with this service in this place? You've just brought me the same cup of coffee." How did she understand it? She had already put sugar in her previous cup of coffee. When she tried the new one, it was sweet. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and see that it's more than half full, but your friend argues that it's less than half full. How to figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel? Tilt the barrel so that the water touches its rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more. Whose wife is a vampire? This guy's wife is a vampire because she only came to the party after sunset. Whose husband is a werewolf? The girl on the left is sweeping up her cat's hair. See? There's a cat in the background. Meanwhile, there are scratches on the floor and walls in the house of the girl on the right. And this shoe has a torn front. Her husband must be a werewolf. Whose wife is actually a ghost? The woman on the right is wearing a ghost costume. It's Halloween. But the woman on the left is a real ghost because we can't see her legs under the sheet. Whose husband is actually a zombie? The man on the left is just sick. The man on the right is a zombie because he's the only one who doesn't eat human food and has an empty plate. Water lilies grow on the lake. Every day, their number doubles. The lilies will completely cover the entire surface of the lake in 48 days. How many days will it take them to cover half of the lake? 47 days. You see, every day the number of the water lilies doubles. On day 48, the lake will be completely covered with lilies. It means that on day 47, there will be twice as few lilies as on day 48. Jack noticed that someone regularly ruins his lawn. He decided to install a hidden camera and figure out who approached his house most often. After 4 days, he decided to check the footage and immediately realized who the culprit was. Can you guess who it is? Jack's neighbor Karen ruins his lawn. She's present in all the photos, but she tries to disguise herself so that she can't be recognized. A woman didn't have her driver's license with her. She didn't stop at a railroad crossing when the barrier was lowered. Then, ignoring the stop sign, she moved in the wrong direction along a one-way street and stopped only after passing 3 intersections. Traffic police officers, seeing all this, decided not to interfere. Why? The woman first traveled by train and then walked. Mary is trying to enter an ice castle to save her friend Logan, but there's a combination lock on the gate. Luckily, there's a clue carved on the ice. Here it is. 162. One number is correct and in the right place. 842. 2 numbers are correct, but in the wrong place. 526. Nothing is correct. Can you guess the code? The passcode is 184. First, we exclude 2 and 6, since in 526, no number is correct. In 842, 2 numbers are correct, so 2 of the numbers we need are 8 and 4. The last number must be 1, and since 1 is in its place, we can easily figure out where 8 and 4 must go. Mary opens the gate and enters the castle. She walks down an icy corridor and comes across 3 doors. There is a severe snowstorm behind the first door. In the second room, there's a dangerous snow dragon. And behind the third door, there's a lake covered with a layer of dark blue ice. Which door should Mary choose? The dragon is a definite no-no. The dark blue ice is thin and unsafe. Mary is likely to just fall into the lake. The first door is the best option. Mary crosses the room and finds herself in a long corridor. The Ice Queen's monsters start chasing her. The girl runs down the hallway and sees another 3 doors made of clear ice. There's a magical snow parrot in the first room. The second room is filled with water. And there's a small black room behind the third door. It looks more like a locker. Which door should Mary hide behind to avoid being found? The Ice Queen's parrot behind the first door will scream when it sees Mary. The third door is a bad option because the doors are made of clear ice, so the monsters will spot her immediately. The second door is the best option. Mary swims away and finds herself in a big hall. She sees Logan, and they're about to run away together when the Ice Queen captures them in a cage. There are 3 levers next to the cage, and the Ice Queen gives Mary these hints. The first lever is going to open the cage, but they'll fall into a freezing cold underground lake. The second lever will open all the cages in the castle and release all the monsters that are inside. The third lever will open the cage, but only 1 person will be able to get out. What should the guys do? They should pull the third lever and let Logan out. After that, they should pull the first lever. Mary will fall into the water, but Logan will help her get out of the lake. John decided to make a vegetable salad for his friends. To prepare for it, he will need 3 peppers and the same number of tomatoes. And he needs fewer cucumbers than tomatoes, but more than radishes. How many different vegetables will John use in the salad? .3 peppers, 3 tomatoes, 2 cucumbers, and 1 radish. A professor went to have his lunch break, leaving 3 students in the lecture hall. When he returned, he realized that an answer sheet for an important exam had disappeared from his desk. He questioned the students. Kyle said, "10 minutes after you'd left, my mom called me and asked me to meet with her near the college building. When I returned, the sheet was already gone." Brian said,
No one called Kyle. He took something from your desk and left.
and Ryan said, "Brian is telling the truth. When we realized that it was an answer sheet, we ran after him outside, but he had already left." Who should the professor believe? Ryan and Brian are lying. They said they had run after Kyle outside, but it was raining and they're both dry. Driving through the country to visit their family. One day, late at night, they were on a lonely country road. That's when a powerful storm broke and their car tire burst. They had to leave the vehicle to find help, but there was nothing and no one around. Sometime later, they came across an old and spooky mansion that seemed abandoned, but the guys decided to try and see if anyone lived there and could help them. They arrived at the mansion gate. On a metal address plaque, it was written, "The House of Riddles." Gemma and Andy got suspicious, but they desperately needed shelter from the storm and some help with their car. So they decided to enter. But the gate was locked. There was a digital security keypad on it and nothing else. Suddenly, they heard a sound coming from the gate intercom. A voice said,
The answer to this riddle of mine is the password you need to unlock the gate. I sleep by day and fly at night, but I have no feathers to aid my flight. What am I?
"That's a bat." When the guys arrived at the door, they saw there was something engraved on it. "Stop right there, wanderer. Don't knock on the door just yet. For if you knock more or fewer times than you should, that you're gonna regret. Here's your second riddle. I am an odd number, but I become even if you take away a letter. What am I?" Gemma and Andy realized that the number equaled the number of times they had to knock on the door for it to open. Can you help them figure out the correct number? The answer is 7, so they had to knock on the door 7 times. A scary old butler opened the door and let the guys in. The door suddenly closed behind their backs and then just vanished into thin air. There were no doors in the room they had entered. The butler said, "Welcome, mortals, to your doom. To make it out of this house, you have to solve every riddle in every room. If you can't, you'll stay in this place forever. Here's your riddle for this room. Which bride is marrying this groom?" If they managed to figure out the answer, a door would appear. If they could not, well, too bad. Do you see the shadows behind them? The third bride's shadow is holding hands with the groom's shadow. They're in love, so she must be his chosen one. After they had answered the riddle correctly, a door appeared in front of them. They got into the next room, which was a library. 3 books fell from a bookcase in front of their feet. Then they heard the butler's voice echoing, "You have to open one of these books, but choose wisely, because whatever creature the book mentions, it will appear here." If Gemma and Andy opened the first book, a venomous basilisk would come out. If they opened the second book, a giant piranha monster with razor-sharp teeth would appear in the library. If they opened the third book, a fire-breathing dragon would charge at them. Which book should they choose? Since the giant piranha is a water creature, it can't survive on land, so the guys should choose the second book. The library door opened, and they walked into the next room. It turned out to be a dining room. A large mirror covered one of its walls, yet the reflection of the room in the mirror had some differences from the real room. Can you spot them? The reflection of the deer statue in the mirror has more antlers. In the reflection, you can see someone hiding behind the curtains. But there's no one besides Gemma and Andy in the room. And lastly, in the mirror, one of the plates on the table is different from the others. But in the real dining room, all the plates are the same. Gemma and Andy felt very hungry. Thankfully, the next door that opened led them to the kitchen. There were 3 different chefs inside. The first chef was a zombie, the second one was a vampire, and the third chef was human. Each of them was holding a pie in their hands, but only one pie was safe to eat. Which one? Do you see the bugs coming out of the zombie chef's pie? Yikes! The pie that the human chef is holding is glowing in a weird way. Looks dangerous to me. So, they should choose the vampire chef's pie. Because that's not blood, that's cherry sauce on top. If it was blood, the vampire would have already eaten that. After they answered the riddle, 2 doors appeared in front of them. One of them had Gemma's name on it, and the other had Andy's. The butler sneaked behind the guys and pushed Gemma through the Gemma door, and Andy through the Andy door. Gemma fell down a pit and found herself in a mysterious garden. She accidentally woke a garden gnome who had been sleeping. He got very angry with her, and still, he agreed to let Gemma go if she answered his question correctly. He showed Gemma 3 tiny mushroom houses and asked which one was his home. Can you figure it out? Do you see the flower on the gnome's hat? The door handle of the second mushroom house handle is the same flower, so that must be his home. Andy, on the other hand, fell into a magical dungeon. The dungeon guard was an ogre, and he looked very pleased to finally have a prisoner. Yet he agreed to let Andy go if the guy chose the correct magical portal to escape. 2 magical portals appeared in front of him. Each of them led to a room. Andy had to stay inside the room of his choice for 5 minutes. The first room was full of poisonous gas that would knock him out in 4 minutes, and the second room was filled with water. If Andy opted for this room, he would have to be chained to the floor with the water rising really fast. In which room can the guy survive? Andy should choose the first room. He should take a breath and try not to breathe for a minute. After that, he'll have to wait for 4 minutes for the door to open, and then he can escape. Both Gemma and Andy were magically transported to the hallway after having answered their riddles correctly. They were happy to be together again. At the end of the hallway, there was a door, and in front of the door, a witch stood. She placed 3 long magic wands on the table in front of her and said,
You do not need to do anything to one of these wands. One you must break in half, and one needs to be even shorter than that half.
The witch added that they could only answer once, and if their answer was wrong, she wouldn't open the door. So, can you tell which wand should be the longest, which one they need to break into half, and which one needs to be the shortest? Do you see those spiders hanging from the ceiling? Since the door is shaped like a spider, they must be giving Gemma and Andy a hint. The silk thread that the first spider is hanging on is the shortest, so the first wand needs to be the shortest. The silk thread that the second spider is hanging on is the longest, which means that the second wand needs to remain as it is. And the silk thread that the third spider is hanging on is of a medium length, which means that the guys need to break the third wand in half. The witch opened the door and Gemma and Andy entered a bedroom. 3 spirits were floating inside. Each of them claimed to be the owner of the mansion. Gemma knew only one of them was telling the truth. Who is it? The spirit of the elderly lady is telling the truth. Why? Let's rewind a bit. Did you notice the portraits hanging on the walls in the hallway? There's a portrait of this very lady. That can only mean she used to be one of the owners of the mansion. Aubrey and her boyfriend Leo lost each other at a concert. He's in one of these toilet stalls. Can you help Aubrey find her partner? Leo is in the first stall. They have matching tattoos. Aubrey and Leo return to the concert. Suddenly, Aubrey notices that one of these musicians isn't real. Who? The guitarist is not real. His guitar has no strings.
Really?
After the concert, Aubrey goes backstage to say hello to the musicians. In the hallway, she meets 3 lady fans. One of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? The first and the second ladies don't have any shadows, therefore, they're vampires. So, only the third lady can be a werewolf.
Oh.
Aubrey enters the dressing room and finds the singer, Emma, unconscious on the floor. Aubrey calls the police and an ambulance. Officers question 3 suspects. The guitarist says, "I left the dressing room for 15 minutes to go to the toilet." The drummer says, "Emma asked me to bring her a burger with fries from the kitchen. When I returned, the police were already there." The piano player says,
I was taking selfies with my fans in the hallway.
"Who's lying?" The drummer. His hands are empty, so he didn't bring any burgers. Oh no. After helping the police, Aubrey and Leo leave the concert hall to go home. 3 taxi drivers offer them a ride, but one of them is dangerous. Can you guess who? The second driver has a hyena in the back seat of his car. The next morning, Aubrey goes to the park for her daily workout. She spots 2 people chilling on 2 benches. One of them is a villain. Can you guess who? The lady is just having a picnic. But take a look at the guy. His magazine is upside down, so he's probably tracking someone. Busted.
Oh no.
Aubrey takes 2 pictures of the pond. Can you find 5 differences between them? Feel free to stop the video if you need more time. Are you ready to see the answers? Here they are.
Oh, yes.
Aubrey gets a message from her friend, Mary Jane. She fell from a bridge today,
Ah.
but she survived. How? Spider-Man saved her. She's Mary Jane, remember? Aubrey goes to visit Mary Jane at her condo, but the local security guard will only let Aubrey in if she cracks this riddle. I get sharper the more I'm used. What am I? Easy peasy. It's the brain. Mary Jane greets Aubrey and treats her to cupcakes and tea. There are 4 cupcakes in the box. One of them isn't safe. Can you guess which one? The first cupcake is a bit smashed, but that doesn't mean it's not edible. The second one looks fine. The fourth cupcake is a little burnt, but it can still be delicious. But the third cupcake has glass shards on top. Definitely not safe.
Oh, God.
Aubrey returns home and turns on the TV. Breaking news, everyone! A dangerous criminal has escaped from prison, and now he's walking around Aubrey's neighborhood.
What?
Suddenly, the doorbell rings. Aubrey checks her camera and sees two people standing on her porch. Both say that they're delivery guys, but one of them is the famous runaway criminal. Can you guess who? The guy on the left. He hides an axe in one of his trouser legs.
Oh my god.
Aubrey calls the police, but the criminal realizes her intentions and escapes through the backyard. The police follow him and end up in a parking lot. The criminal is hiding in one of these 5 cars. Can you find him? These 4 cars seem empty, and they don't have any signs of a break-in. Meanwhile, someone's moving in the back seat of the 5th car. Busted! Aubrey is heading home from the police station and sees this scene. One of them is lying. Can you guess who? The vampire hunter is lying. This guy isn't a real vampire. He got scared and his cheeks turned red. Also, he has a shadow, just like humans. Aubrey keeps walking and comes across 3 neighbors arguing about one bike. Whose bike is it? The bike belongs to the red hat guy. The rest are wearing helmets, but his helmet is on the bike.
Oh.
The next day, Aubrey goes to the supermarket. She grabs some food and goes to the cashier to pay. Oh no! Her card holder is missing. Aubrey interrogates 3 people standing nearby. Ethan says he was talking on the phone and he didn't steal anything. Mia says that she didn't touch Aubrey's stuff. Her hands were full with her own purchases. And the cashier says that she didn't notice any card holders. Aubrey knows for sure who's the thief. What about you? Take a look at Mia's purchases. She hid Aubrey's card holder inside the kale. Aubrey enters the local diner to have lunch, but this is not a regular boring restaurant. One of these 2 customers is a former mermaid. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the second lady. She has scratches on her knees. That's because she's learned to walk just recently.
Oh.
Aubrey takes a seat and notices these 2 innocent-looking couples. One of the couples are visiting from another planet. Can you guess who? Take a look at the first table. The guy puts toothpicks in his pasta like salt or pepper. It's very unlikely that he's human. The next morning, Aubrey enters her office. Oh no, someone broke into her desk and stole her laptop. Yesterday, she locked it in her drawer. Aubrey calls the security guards and they question 4 suspects. The cleaning lady says, "I only entered Aubrey's room once to take out the trash early in the morning. I didn't touch her desk." The designer says, "Yesterday I left earlier than Aubrey, so I didn't see anything." The office manager says, "I was the first one to arrive today, but I spent all morning in my own room working on an urgent task." And the account manager says, "I was having a business meeting in the conference room all morning." Who's lying? The cleaning lady. Take a look at Aubrey's bin. She didn't take out the trash, so her story is fake. Aubrey and Leo go for a walk on the beach. But something is wrong here. Can you guess what? no waves. Aubrey and Leo keep on walking and get lost in a huge maze.
Oh my god.
Can you help them escape?
Oh no.
Here's the only way out. Suddenly, the guys see a curious animal. It has feet but no legs. Which animal is it? It's a snail. Snail foot is a muscle that allows it to move. Aubrey and Leo decide to explore the local haunted house. They enter a creepy hallway and the door slams shut. The guys wander around and find another door with a combination lock. They have to figure out the 5-digit code to open it. Can you help the guys figure out the code? Take a look at these fancy runes on the wall. It's a hint. These are just mirror digits. The code is 1, 3, 9, 4, 7.
Yes!
The guys open the door. They faint because the next room is filled with sleeping gas. After a while, they wake up in a basement and see a drawing of the floor. Suddenly, a creepy voice says, "2 letters are missing here. Guess which ones, and I'll set you free. If you don't, you'll stay here forever." Can you help the guys out? The missing letters are N and N. The guys open the next door and see a bunch of butterflies flying in the air. Can you count the exact number of green butterflies? Seven. Now let's see if you can count the number of pink butterflies. The correct answer is 9.
Oh my god.
Finally, the guys get out of the haunted house. They take 2 pictures for their social media. Can you find 5 differences between them? Ready to see the differences? Here they are. The haunted house has a garden maze. Can you help the guys get out? They should definitely choose the first route. Ivy has been partying all night long. Finally, she leaves the club. Ivy wants to call a taxi, but her phone isn't working. 3 people are eager to give her a ride. Can you spot which drivers are dangerous? If you nailed it, please share your answer in the comments. The second car has a flat tire. Probably not the safest option. The third car is fine, but the driver is hiding an axe in his pocket. So, Ivy should definitely choose the first car. Unluckily, Ivy picks the wrong driver. She falls asleep on the way and wakes up in the city service tunnels. Ivy wanders around for a while and finds 3 tunnels leading outside. But they're not safe. A hungry alligator is waiting in the first one. The second tunnel is filled with acid that can dissolve Ivy's body in a few seconds. And there's a deep pit covered with sharp rocks in the third tunnel. Which tunnel should she choose to survive? Let us know in the comments. Ivy should choose the third tunnel. The water is running right into the pit, so it must be filled with water by now. Therefore, Ivy can swim through it safely. Ivy swims out of the tunnels and finds herself in the middle of the bay. She's rescued by a ship. The crew leaves Ivy to rest in the hold, but suddenly the ship begins to flood. Fast! Ivy's trying to get out, but the hatch is stuck. She's locked inside the hold. How can Ivy survive? Think carefully and tell us your answer in the comments. She's got to hold her breath and wait until the hold is filled up with water. When the pressure is even, she'll be able to open the hatch. Ivy escapes, jumps onto a lifeboat, and arrives on an island. The lifeboat gets blown away by the wind right away. Ivy is alone on a desert island covered with dry plants. The water around it is infested with piranhas. Suddenly, a fierce fire breaks out, and the winds are blowing her away. Ivy can't touch the water in any way. How can she survive the fire? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. She should use a branch to burn some grass. When the flame reaches her, there will be a burnt out spot. The fire won't touch it. Phew, the fire is gone. Ivy is exploring the island. She finds a secret hatch in the ground, opens it, and enters a creepy dungeon. The hatch slams shut. Ivy is trapped inside. Thankfully, the dungeon has a sufficient supply of buckets filled with food, matches, and medicine for a week. But Ivy doesn't want to stay here that long, so she's searching for ways out. Soon she comes across 3 doors. A hungry bear and a cub are waiting behind the first door. There's a wall of fire behind the second door. And the third door leads to a lake filled with crocodiles. Which door should Ivy choose? Hurry up to be the first to comment. The bear will try to protect its cub. Crocs are a bad idea too, but Ivy can distract them with food and then use the lake water and the bucket to fight the fire. So she should choose the second door. Ivy gets out of the dungeon. Suddenly, she sees a helicopter in the sky. The island is still covered with dry, burnt plants. Can you help Ivy find a way to make the pilot notice her? Remember the matches and medicine kept in the dungeon? Ivy should use them to make a fire in the bucket to send a signal to the pilot. But if you come up with an alternative answer, be sure to let us know in the comments. The helicopter pilot, whose name is Andy, takes Ivy off the island. They're flying towards the mainland, but unfortunately the engine breaks down on the way. Andy has to land the helicopter as soon as possible. There are 3 options: a snowy mountain peak, an island inhabited by monsters who eat all strangers, and the foot of an ancient volcano. Which landing spot is the least dangerous? If you nailed it, please share your answer. Monsters are a bad idea. This volcano is about to erupt, so it's not safe to land here as well. But take a closer look at the mountain. It's located near a city, so this option is the safest. Andy and Ivy land on a mountain peak. There are 3 roads to get to the city. Which route should they take to stay alive? The comment section below is waiting for your answer. Only the second route leads to the city. On the way, Andy and Ivy get very hungry. They come across 3 food stalls, but only one has food that's safe to eat. If you already know which, don't hesitate to share it in the comments. The first chef doesn't wear any gloves and his hands are really dirty. No thanks. And the third kiosk is located right next to a toxic waste bin. So the second option is the best. Ivy finally made it home. The next day, she sends Andy this photo, and a day later, this one. How did she survive? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. Ivy just photoshopped herself to make it look dangerous. Let's zoom in the second picture. She has a photo editor open on her computer. Ivy is a scientist, and today she carries her nanorobots to a scientific fair. Suddenly, someone attacks her. Ivy wakes up in a prison. The thief stole her bag. But thankfully, Ivy still has 3 tiny robots in her pockets. She has a toad robot that spits poison, a spider robot capable of creating very strong webs, and a butterfly robot that melts everything it lands on. Which robot can save Ivy? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. The butterfly can melt the bars. The bars are gone. Ivy runs along a creepy corridor and faces 3 open doors. Which door is not dangerous? Think carefully, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. The first lady is a werewolf, and the third lady isn't human. Take a look at her eyes. So only the second door is safe. This leg behind the curtain is just a kitten. Ivy passes through the door and continues her runaway. She faces a guard in front of the exit. He says,
If you solve my equation, I'll let you go. But if you fail, you'll stay in this jail forever. Add 1 line to make this equation true. You can't cross out the equal sign.
can you help Ivy escape? Think carefully and feel free to leave your answer in the comments. She should use the line to turn one of the plus signs into a 4. This way, we'll get 545 plus 5 plus 5, which equals 555. Ivy nails it and leaves the jail. But there are 2 more prisoners trying to get free. Who's more likely to escape? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. Digging through toxic waste seems like a very dangerous idea. But the First Lady can distract the dogs with her sandwich. Therefore, her chances of escaping are higher. Andy invites Ivy on a date. He offers 3 options. He just received a brand new helicopter so they can have a romantic ride over the city. The second option is to swim in a pool on the roof of a 5-star hotel. And finally, they can go ride a Ferris wheel in the local amusement park. What should Ivy choose to stay alive? Don't forget to share your answer. All 3 options are risky. Take a look at the sky. There's lightning. It's forbidden to fly a helicopter into a thunderstorm. The Ferris wheel can be hit by lightning too. And swimming in a thunderstorm isn't safe either. But at least the guys can hide inside the hotel. Hit the like button if you manage to crack each riddle, and don't forget to subscribe.
Alex and Jordan are in grave danger. They both find themselves stranded on a deserted island. They've been without food or water for over 4 days now, and probably won't last too much longer. Take a look at these images. If you have any clue which one of them will get out of there alive, let us know. Jordan, the guy on the left, has a way to survive this whole thing. He's taking shelter under a coconut tree. He can simply open up the coconut and he'll have some food and water to get him by until some rescue team shows up. Matt, Zach, and Brian booked a helicopter ride for a day. As soon as they took off and were flying above the ski resort, they saw two ladies in danger. But since they only had one seat left in the helicopter, they could only help one of the girls. Take a look at them. You've got to tell us which of these ladies you think really need saving. Drop a comment below. It's the lady on the left, hanging on the top of the cliff. She can fall at any moment. The other lady can slide down the slope without her skiing poles, that's for sure. It's time to see the dentist again. Both Nan and John have appointments to get rid of their cavities. What they don't know is that a maniac criminal has kidnapped one of the dentists and is passing as him. Take a look at the images. Tell us below who you think should run out of that office ASAP. Nan is the one in danger. Look, behind there is a jar with human ears floating in some weird liquid. That guy is definitely not a real dentist. Two motorbikers are riding down the street at full speed. One of them is about to hit a crossing where a lot of school kids pass, and the other is doing tricks like putting his hands up in the air. Use your intuition here and tell us who is in real danger. It's the guy heading to the crossing. If he doesn't slow down, he'll probably hurt himself, the lady that's riding with him, and the kids. Barbara has a temperamental pit bull. It's known to attack the occasional stranger, so she makes sure to put a mouth guard on her dog. Stevie also has a pit bull who's never attacked anyone, so she usually lets him off the leash. Take a look at the pictures. Be the quickest one here to tell us your guess. Which dog poses a real threat to strangers? It's the dog without the leash, of course. Animals are too unpredictable, and just because he hasn't attacked anyone before doesn't mean he won't. Pat should be considered a national hazard. He puts himself and others in pretty dangerous situations while being completely clueless about it. In the first case, he's lighting a match while there's gasoline spilled on the floor. In the second case, he's holding a sword pointed at a young lady. Take a good look at the pictures and give your best shot guessing who's in more danger. He's in danger in the first scenario, of course, plus all the other people in the gas station. Jane was running late for her date, so she decided to blow dry her hair while she was taking a bath. Jake was so stressed from work that he decided to take a relaxing bath while finishing his work for the day. Hurry, give us your take below on who is probably going down the drain on this one. It's Jane. Her blow dryer is plugged into the source, and it's never a good idea to mix water and electronic devices, right? Jim and Andrew were taken to the hospital for an operation the same day a burglar escaped prison. They had no idea, but one of them was in a life-threatening situation. The burglar was planning on stealing all their belongings once the anesthetics kicked in. Take a look at this bizarre scenario and give us your 2 cents about this debacle. Although the doctor on the right has mud on his pants, look at the guy on the left. He is not wearing gloves. Plus, you can still see part of his name tag from his time in prison. Oh boy. Matthew and Simon are adrenaline seekers. Their favorite hobby is walking on tight ropes, hanging on top of cliffs. Take a look at both images and share your guess on who is in real danger this time. It's Simon, the one on the right. Although Matthew is having a hard time to find balance, he is securely fastened. But in Simon's case, he forgot to clip himself to the rope. So if he loses balance for just one bit, he'll fall down and go boom. Oh no! Patricia and Lillian are also into some radical sports. They decided to go bungee jumping in New Zealand, but one of them is in grave danger. Take a look at the images and don't hesitate to share your answer with us below. Uh-oh. It looks like Patricia decided to bungee jump without shoes, and the straps around her feet can slip off any second. She could seriously hurt herself. There are 2 supermen flying around town saving people, but one of them is hurting more people than helping. Take a look at the image. Stop anything else you're doing now and share your take on who's in danger here. The guy on the right, he's not a real Superman. For starters, the S on his suit is the other way around. Plus, he's got some blood on his hands. I don't even want to know why. Lily and Matt were traveling around Asia and decided to book a spa appointment. They had no idea what they were getting into, but one of them might actually be in grave danger. Take a look at the images and find the imposter before it's too late. Don't keep the answer to yourself, though. Let us know below. Lily got lucky. She just got a normal acupuncture session. But Matt is in danger. The guy put venomous snakes and spiders on top of him. That's not safe at all. Understatement.
Oh no.
Margaret left school and went straight to the ice cream truck to get herself a scoop. Right in front of the truck, there was an old man offering his ice cream to the people passing by. Judy left class earlier to meet her brother at the park. When she arrived at the park, she ran into a friend of her father. He looked very happy to see her and offered her a lollipop. Take a look at both of these pictures and hurry up to figure out who's in danger here. Do share it with us, though. None of the girls are in danger, but the guy offering a lollipop to Judy is in grave danger. There's a snake trying to coil on his legs. That's never a good sign. Sam was late for work, so he decided to take a shortcut that went through the train tracks. Becky was feeling kind of sad, so she decided to go for a walk around the same area. What they didn't know was that the new electric train didn't make any noise, and it was passing by around the same time they were crossing the tracks. Put on your detective hat and figure out who is in real danger here. It's Sam. Becky has her sunglasses on, but she can see the train coming. Sam has really dark bangs covering his eyes and is wearing headphones. He probably won't be able to detect the train is coming. Derek and Lola went out for a dinner date. They ordered food and drinks and were ready to dig in when they noticed something was off. We need you to be swift here and figure out which one of them is in real danger. Share your thoughts below. It's Derek. His soft drink looks a bit too greenish, don't you think?
Oh God.
Marcus is a lucky game show winner. He can choose one of 3 prizes: a brand new Mercedes, an expensive laptop, or a designer wallet. What do you think is the best choice? Comment below. Look at this Mercedes. The logo is crooked. The car must be fake. The same goes for the wallet. This logo is supposed to be written in a different way. That's what the real logo looks like. But the laptop seems to be okay. The logo is correct. So, Marcus should probably opt for this device. On a rainy evening, Megan came home and found that someone had eaten her chocolate bar. She asked her sisters whether one of them had done it. Maria said she'd been working out in her room and hadn't left it the whole day. Amelia said she would never eat someone else's chocolate. And Emma answered that she'd been outside, watering plants in the garden. She'd just come home herself. Help Megan find out the truth and share your ideas in the comments. It must be Emma. Why would she need to water plants outside if it's raining? Kayla was staying at a hotel in Paris. One day, someone broke into her room and took all her expensive stuff. The police had 3 suspects. Alan said that he had been trying to pour himself some coffee downstairs, but with his arm in a sling, it had been extremely tricky. Marie told the police that she had been at the reception trying to solve some issues with her shower. And Bruce said that he had been sleeping. Help the detectives figure out who's guilty and leave them a message in the comments. Alan broke into Kayla's room. Look at his cast. He's wearing it over his sweater. It must be fake. Detective Morton has received wedding pictures of 2 newlywed couples from a client. He knows that both couples got married on the same beach in the Maldives. It's famous for its beautiful sunsets. But one of these couples is indeed very rich, while the other is broke. For some unfathomable reason, the detective client wants to know which couple has money. If you figure it out faster than Morton and write your answer in the comments, the detective will probably have to give you his badge. The guys on the right are wearing very simple wedding suits, but they're indeed celebrating their wedding on the beach. But if you take a closer look at the couple on the left, you'll soon realize the lighting on their fancy clothes and faces doesn't match the background. Plus, you can spot a few green screen fragments at the edges of the picture. Their photo isn't real. They can't afford to go to the Maldives in real life. They're broke. Mark found himself in the middle of a forest with 3 paths in front of him. The first one was covered with burning hot coals. The second path was so cold that it felt like Antarctica under his feet. And the third path was covered with sharp nails that were able to pierce any footwear. Tell Mark in the comments which path he should choose. The guy should pick the third path. All that ice is bound to be gone soon since it's too close to hot coals. Adam was driving home late at night when he noticed he was about to run out of gas. He stopped at a gas station to fill his gas tank and buy some snacks. Inside, there was a cashier and another customer dressed in black. When Adam came up to the employee to pay, she told him $505. Adam paid, went outside, and called the police to report an emergency. If you have any idea why he did so, comment below. You probably noticed that the cash register actually showed $18.35, but the cashier said $505, which looks like SOS. Detective Brown rushed to an expensive restaurant. Someone had stolen a gold spoon there. If the detective didn't find the real culprit, the waiter would have big problems. Luckily, there were still a lot of people in the restaurant, and Detective Brown questioned the main suspects. A group of friends said they were celebrating a birthday. They wouldn't spoil their party this way. A cheerful man said he'd been walking in the area and had dropped by to check out this place. And a miserable-looking guy answered that his wife had left him, and he had come to the restaurant to take his mind off his problems. You must help the detective to find the criminal. When you do, write your answer in the comments faster than the others. The second man lied. He'd said he'd been to the restaurant for the first time, but look, he's wearing a hat with the restaurant's logo. Gotcha! Adam's car broke down right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing was that it was winter, snowdrifts were huge, and the wind was freezing cold. Adam had to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he followed the first path, he'd have to deal with hungry wolves. The second road went through the area inhabited by bears, and if he took the third path, he'd have to cross a river covered with thin ice. You need to help the guy as fast as possible and tell him what road he should opt for in the comments. Adam should sneak through the bear's territory. These animals usually sleep in the winter. Liza was a millionaire's daughter. She was fed up with her father trying to control her life. After he told her one day he'd found a fiancé for her, she decided to run away from home. The girl knew her father would send his people to bring her back, so she never stayed in one hotel for more than one night. Once, she found herself in a small town. It was getting dark, and she had no choice but to stop at the first hotel she saw. The receptionist said that her room number was 910 and offered to show her where it was. Liza immediately grabbed her bag, ran out of the hotel, jumped in her car, and speeded away. If you can write in the comments the reason for such a weird reaction, you deserve the title of the true detective. The first digit of a hotel room number usually means the floor it's on. Room 910 is supposed to be on the 9th floor, but look at the hotel. It only has 3 floors. Young fashion designer Bruno was preparing for his first show. He was a bit anxious, so he took a break to steady his nerves. But when it was time for him to present his collection, no one could find him. In an hour, a security guard saw him in the bathroom, lying on the floor. Someone had hit him on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Maya, one of the models, said she had had problems with her dress and hadn't even had time to leave the dressing room. Catherine, one of the guests, said that she was Bruno's biggest fan and had been wearing his clothes for years. Apparently, she had no reason to hit him. Sam, the designer's assistant, said he had rushed to the nearest coffee shop to get Bruno an Americano to calm him down. Who is the culprit? Share your ideas in the comments. It was Catherine. That day, it was Bruno's first show. Then how could she be wearing his clothes for years? Richard had a collection of beautiful paintings. One day, while he was away, his favorite one got stolen. The police suspected one of Richard's neighbors. Nicole said she'd been out of town. She returned home just an hour ago and was so tired after a long drive that she immediately went to bed. Dennis said he had been getting ready to paint his house. but since it didn't seem the rain would stop anytime soon, he went to the movies instead. Julie answered that her sister had been feeling unwell. That's why Julie was busy looking after her little nephew. Take that magnifying glass of yours and tell us the truth. Who's guilty? It was Nicole. It had been raining for the whole day. If the woman had returned home just an hour before, the road under her car would be wet.
Uh-oh. 3 friends, Kyle, Harry, and Sherry, are locked in separate cages on a deserted island in the middle of a lake. Kyle's cage has a huge ice block on top of it. There's a tank with boiled water on top of Harry's cage. Only Sherry's cage hatch is locked, and the metal padlock is pretty heavy. The key is inside Kyle's cage. Can you find a way for the 3 friends to escape? It's daytime and the weather is hot. Therefore, the ice over Kyle's cage will soon melt. He'll be able to grab the key and escape through the hatch on top of his cage. As for the boiled water, it will eventually cool down. After that, Harry will be able to escape through the hatch on top of his cage, joining Kyle. Then the 2 guys can unlock Sherry's cage. The guys are now released from their cages. They begin to look for a way to escape and come up with 3 options. They can try to drive this old car, walk to the nearest village and ask for help, or use this rowboat, which floats not far from the shore. Can you help them choose the best option? It's a deserted island in the middle of a lake, remember? The first 2 options simply make no sense. The guys use the boat and manage to reach the mainland by midnight. Luckily, they find an abandoned cabin to spend the night, but it only has 1 match. There's an oil lamp, a fireplace, and a furnace in this cabin. What should they light first? Yeah, it's the match. Woo! The next morning, Kyle wakes up early. Harry and Sherry are still sleeping. He decides to go investigate the area. Soon Kyle finds a brand new airplane. He immediately gets behind the wheel to pick up his friends and fly away from this cursed forest. But suddenly, the owner of the vehicle shows up. He pushes Kyle out of the airplane without a parachute. There's only hard ground below him, but Kyle manages to survive. How? The airplane is still on the ground. Sherry wakes up second and decides to go pick some berries for breakfast. Finds 3 bushes with different types of berries, but only one of them is safe. Can you guess which one? Let's take a look at the first bush. Although raspberries are edible, a scorpion is hiding inside the bush, so Sherry should stay away from it. The second bush has a bunch of pretty berries, but there are no animal traces around the bush, so it's probably poisonous. As for the third option, it's a simple gooseberry bush. It has some animal traces around it. It seems quite reliable. Meanwhile, Harry wakes up in the cabin. He realizes that the room is on fire and he's trapped. The smoke prevents him from seeing the windows, and the door is blocked by the fire too. The firefighters are on their way, but he needs to think quickly to survive while he's waiting for help. Harry comes up with 4 options: to stay on the ground and stay as low as possible, to get on a chair and stay close to the ceiling, to take his clothes off to stay cooler, or to hide under the desk. Can you help him figure out the best solution? Harry should stay low to the ground. That way, he'll be better protected from fumes and smoke. The locals save Harry and Sherry from the fire and imprison them in their village. But soon, they get bored and decide to offer the prisoners a chance to escape. Harry and Sherry are put on opposite sides of one room. Both friends are facing a wall. The task is to write down a number between 10,000 and 1 million on a piece of paper without knowing what the other person wrote. If the 2 numbers end up being different, Harry and Sherry will be captured forever. But if they write the same number, the locals will set them free. Unfortunately, their ears are plugged with headphones playing loud music. so they can only communicate using sign language. Also, their feet are chained to the ground, so they cannot turn around. But yet, they manage to pick the same number. Ow! There were windows on the walls, so Harry and Sherry could see each other in the reflection of the glass. They could easily communicate using sign language. Meanwhile, Kyle is traveling through the jungle on his own to find his friends. Kyle takes a look inside his filtered water bottle. Ooh, bad news. He's almost out of water. He wanders around and finds 4 sources of water: a juicy cactus, a pond with salty salt water, a clear still lake, and a silt stream. What source of water should Kyle choose? Most cactuses are toxic, so instead of fighting his thirst, Kyle will get a stomachache. Salty salt water will dehydrate him. Stagnant water from the still lake is probably infested with all kinds of bacteria. So the best choice would be the silty stream. It contains nothing that Kyle's filter water bottle can neutralize. Kyle keeps on walking. Suddenly, he spots a crocodile and freaks out. Can you see it too? The croc is over here. Kyle is trying to escape, but the jungle is full of other wild animals. He only has 2 options: to sail on a motorboat across the lake when he saw the crocodile, or to sail on a regular boat across the Shark River. Can you help him pick the best option? Kyle should choose the second option. Sharks don't inhabit waters, so it's just a cool name. Meanwhile, Harry and Sherry are walking through the mountains. They find a cave and decide to explore it. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble and falling stones block the way out. The guys wander around and find 3 tunnels leading outside. A hungry mountain lion is waiting in the first tunnel. He hasn't eaten in 2 years. The second tunnel is infested with unknown flesh-eating insects. They love to feast on all types of mammals, including humans. And the third passage is guarded by a dangerous runaway criminal. He's ready to get rid of any witnesses just to avoid going to prison again. Which way is more or less safe? Harry and Sherry should choose the first passage. Mountain lions cannot live for 2 years without food. Harry and Sherry keep on walking. They argue about human body capabilities. They make a deal. Harry would go to Antarctica, and Sherry would travel to the Sahara Desert. They'll both try to survive in those locations for 3 days without any shelter or clothes, but with plenty of food and water. Who has the best chance of surviving? In Antarctica, the temperatures are freezing all the time, and without any cover, Harry would turn into a snowman in less than a day. In the Sahara, on the other hand, the heat is intense only during the day. It's rather cool there during the night, and a water supply will help Sherry fight dehydration. Harry and Sherry reach the top of a mountain. Suddenly, they spot Kyle in the woods. Unfortunately, the mountain road is very confusing. There are 3 possible routes the guys can take to reach Kyle. Can you help them choose the best option? Only the third route actually leads to Kyle. Finally, Kyle, Harry, and Sherry reunite. The guys approach the harbor, hoping to find a vessel to go home. Luckily, they meet a family of 3. Each of them is ready to give the guys a ride on their own boat. Timothy says, "My boat is the best. I bought it 6 months ago and named it after my wife." His son Thomas says, "My boat is 10 years old and has never let me down." And Monica, Timothy's wife, says, "My boat is used, but I know the route better than anyone. Trust me." And only one of them is telling the truth. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at Timothy's boat. Its name is Michelle, not Monica, which means his story is a lie. Thomas lied about the age of his boat. The engraving says 1980. So the guy should say yes to Monica.
Today, we're visiting a truly bizarre university. Keep your eyes wide open and don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Look at these people. One of them is not a student. Can you figure out who it is? This lady in black is a supernatural creature. Look at the mirror. Both she and her reflection are facing you. It's not possible in the real world. Students at this university aren't exactly known for their honesty. Look, it's midterms, and someone is cheating during an exam. Can you help the professor find this dishonest student? It's this guy. He has answers written on his arm. Thanks to your help, the professor has caught the cheating student, but she's a kind-hearted woman and gives the guy another chance. He needs to solve this riddle to pass the exam. Would you maybe like to help the poor student you've exposed? Keep in mind that this riddle has challenged many intelligent minds, and for good reason. The missing number in the third circle is 225. The numbers in these circles seem to be completely random at first glance. But let's perform some basic arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, and multiplication, and try to figure out the pattern. We need to follow these steps. Look at the first circle and pair the opposites. The first pair gives us 11. As for the second pair, we need to calculate the difference between the numbers. It's 9. The next step should be finding the difference between the two results and squaring this number. We get 4. Let's do the same for the second circle to make sure that this is a working scheme. And now, let's find the missing number. So, 225 is the answer. The exams are over, and students are celebrating. But the party is kinda shady. Look around. Someone who doesn't belong to this college has sneaked inside. Can you spot the intruder? Look at this young lady. Her feet don't seem to be touching the ground. She must be a ghost. During the holidays, supernatural beings occupied the college, and now they're haunting the students. Even worse, someone has bitten your friend. Which of these people is a vampire? This young man has a t-shirt that looks as if it has some bloodstains on it. But that's just a print. This woman has a whole garlic knob hanging as a necklace on her chest, so she's not a vampire. But look at the man who's drinking some red liquid. I bet it's not fruit juice. He's actually the one we should be aware of. Imagine coming back to your dorm and finding out that your roommate is missing. Plus, everything around you looks kinda suspicious. Strange sounds, weird smells. Is your roommate hiding some terrible secret? Let's look at the sky. See that full moon? Now, pay attention to the walls and the floor of your room. You can notice scratch marks and chunks of fur here and there. That's the answer. Your roommate is a werewolf. After figuring out your roommate's secret, you realize you need to clear your head. You go to a morning pool party. People are swimming, playing around, and having fun. But one of the guests is a mermaid. Can you figure out who it is? This girl just pretends to be a mermaid. She even has matching makeup. This guy is wearing special gloves with membranes between the fingers. The mermaid is actually this girl who's staying as far away from the swimming pool as possible. She's even wearing a raincoat. All because if even a small water droplet touches her skin, she will get her tail. It's time to go back to school, only to find out that one of your professors is possessed. Who is that? This man has red eyes and messy hair, but that's most likely because he's sleep deprived. This woman is unnaturally pale, but she's suffering from food poisoning. Look at that piece of pizza next to her. It sure doesn't look fresh. At the same time, the guy on the right has two shadows instead of one. He's definitely possessed. Okay, now let's move on to something less supernatural, but no less tricky. Imagine having to empty a jar of milk and a jar of water into a bowl. But of course, there are several conditions. You must be able to see the border between the milk and the water. You must be able to separate the milk from the water. And finally, you aren't allowed to use any kinds of dividers to keep these two liquids apart. How can you do it? All you need to do is to pour the water into the bowl first and freeze it. Now all that's left to do is to add the milk. In the city where people are keen on brain teasers and riddles, 4% of people don't list their phone numbers. So if we select 40 random people from the phone directory, how many of them will have unlisted numbers? The answer is 0%. You see, if the numbers of these 40 people are in the phone directory, they're already listed by default. David invited 7 friends to his birthday party. They brought a beautiful big cake, but they couldn't eat it unless it was divided into 8 equal pieces with just 3 cuts. Luckily, they managed to do this and could enjoy the treat. Would you be able to do the same? To fulfill this task correctly, you need to follow the next steps. First of all, cut the cake across the diameter through the middle point. After that, cut the cake horizontally. Now you already have 4 equal pieces. And finally, cut the cake across the diameter, perpendicular to the first cut. There you go, 8 equal pieces and just 3 cuts. Now, look at the poor guy. One of his friends has pulled a paint bucket prank on him. Look at the rest of the people attentively and try to figure out who it was. It was definitely Luke. Look at his pants. There are paint stains there. Now, look at these girls. They're in a dark basement tied with ropes. Who is going to be the first to escape? Most likely, it'll be the first girl. She's got long, beautiful nails. She's bound to have a file to look after them. It can help her cut through the rope. There's been a robbery on the train, and one of these people is hiding the stolen goods. Who can it be? It's this woman. She only pretends to be pregnant. Her belly has a bizarre shape. It's suspiciously square. The police had been looking for Kyle for 2 days. The guy went hiking and never came back. Finally, he was found. Someone had hit him on the head and left him lying in the bushes. Kyle only managed to say, "Friend," and lost consciousness. The police officers had 3 suspects, all of them Kyle's friends. Zachary said he spent these last days at work getting ready for a conference. Jeremy told the detectives he'd sprained his ankle and had been in bed for 4 days. and Billy explained that he'd been to New York. The man even showed the police officers his boarding pass. Who's responsible for the accident with Kyle? Billy showed the police just one boarding pass from Chicago to New York. Then how did he get back from New York? His story sounds fishy. Jordan was very late for a job interview, but when he drove up to the office building, he found out there were no free parking spaces. He decided to leave his car a bit farther from the entrance. But even though there were several other vehicles in that area, parking was prohibited there. Luckily, Jordan came up with an idea and didn't get fined. What did he do? He took a parking ticket from another car and put it on his windshield. It looked as if he had already been fined.
This Christmas, Jake decided to play a game with his sons. He would only give them their Christmas presents if they could win at his game. He would ask them a series of questions, and they would get as many gifts as they answered the riddles correctly. Jake asked his first son, Gabriel, "What do snowmen call their offspring?" Do you have any idea how to answer this riddle? They call them children. Duh. Then Jake asked his only daughter, Julia, another question. "Knock, knock," he said. "Who's there?" she answered. "Tree," Jake said. "Tree who?" Can you guess the answer to this riddle? It's the Three Wise Men. This one was definitely hard. His kids were doing so good that he decided to switch it up a little. He asked his son Aaron, "What do you call a disrespectful reindeer?" What's the answer here, huh? Well, let's see. A disrespectful reindeer is a Rudolph. For his last question, he asked all of his offspring together, "Where do Santa and the elves go to swim?" What do you think they answered? The North Pole, of course. On one of his trips, Santa brought with him some delicious walnut cookies. He kept them in a jar, waiting for the perfect moment to eat them. But one day, he got home from a day of work and found that his cookies were gone. He decided to interview his elves to find out who might have eaten his cookies. The first elf told Santa that he was making peppermint swirls with Mrs. Claus all morning. The second elf said he had spent the afternoon making homemade peanut butter for Christmas Day. And the last elf said he spent the day keeping an eye on the reindeer so they wouldn't fly away. Santa immediately knew who had eaten his cookies. How did he know? Take a look at the second elf's tongue. It's completely swollen. Elves are allergic to all types of peanuts, swollen from eating the cookies. Plus, his alibi is fake. If he had spent the day making peanut butter, he would have gone to the elf hospital for sure. At Somerville Middle School, the teachers decided to play a prank on their students to make the holiday season more cheerful. The principal announced on the speaker that there was a robber on the loose. The robber was dressing up as Santa and robbing laptops inside the school property. Students were told to beware. At the end of the school day, 5 students had photographed different people dressed up as Santa around the school. Take a look at the photographs. Can you figure out who the fake thief is? The thief is the second Santa on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it. In 3 different parts of the world, 3 Santa Clauses are getting ready for their big night. They're about to leave the comfort of their homes to go and distribute gifts all around the world. Take a good look at the image below. Which Santa isn't ready to leave? He's the one in the middle. He still doesn't have his belt on. He can't leave without his belt. And speaking of spotting the real Santa, take a look at these two chimneys. Can you tell who is the real Santa? Take a look. The guy on the left has huge legs, and there's some green fur poking out of his pants. It must be the Grinch. The real Santa is the guy on the right, that's for sure. Daniela is a new detective in town, and there's an urgent case for her to solve. At night, someone robbed a mall and stole all the presents prepared for the winter show. In the morning, the videos from the security cameras were analyzed, and the police found 3 main suspects. All of them were interrogated. Bernard said, "I have nothing to do with it. I came from work yesterday and was watching football until I fell asleep." Samuel said, "Today, in the evening, I was so tired, so I just went to sleep and you woke me up." And Jason said, "I was studying all night for my exam in the afternoon." Who should Daniela arrest? Both Samuel and Jason look very tired, but only Jason has a valid reason for not sleeping. But Samuel called the previous day today by mistake, which means he probably didn't sleep at night and there was no difference for him between the 2 days. It was definitely him. Santa arrived in LA to give out gifts for children in the region. He parked his sleigh on top of a family's home and traveled down their chimney. He left their gifts under the tree and decided to check if the family left some cookies for him to snack on. He found the dinner table set with delicious meals: candy canes, hot chocolate, gingerbread, and a turkey. Can you tell which food doesn't belong at a Christmas table? The turkey. They're usually eaten during Thanksgiving, not Christmas. Well, in some homes. On January 1st, Devin called the police to report a crime. He says he went to his neighbor's New Year's Eve party the night before, and during that time, someone must have broken into his house and stolen his laptop. When the police asked about the party, Devin said it was great. There was good food, and the tree lights in his house were shining brightly and beautifully. Devin added that he thought that his neighbor could have been the one that stole his things. Maybe he snuck inside the house when Devin was at his place having fun. The police officer went next door to interrogate Devin's neighbor, Tom. However, as soon as Tom opened the door, the officer knew he wasn't guilty of the crime and also that Devin was lying. How? Look at Tom's Christmas tree. There are no lights, meaning it was probably not even working on the night before. Devin was lying. He probably just wanted to get some insurance money. 4 Santa Clauses were flying aboard a commercial flight. But just before the aircraft was about to take off, the airline got an anonymous call saying that someone was trying to smuggle illegal goods into the aircraft. So they had to check everyone's bags. Each bag went through the X-ray machine again. The first Santa was carrying an extra pair of wigs, shoes, and costume. The second Santa was carrying shaving cream, a book, and several naughty or nice lists. The third Santa had a stash of money, a laptop, and another wig. And the fourth Santa was carrying a few gifts and some gingerbread. Can you guess which Santa is a criminal? It's the one carrying the shaving cream. Santa never shaves his beard, so he must be hiding something inside it. Jenny ran into her comedian friend on the street during the holiday season, and he was on fire, asking her to answer all of his riddles. The first thing he asked Jenny was, "Why is Santa really good at karate?" Because he has a black belt. Way to go, Jenny. Then he asked her, if December 31st is the end of the year, then what is the end of Christmas? The letter S. Well, that sounded obvious. For his grand question, he asked Jenny, what do you call a person who is afraid of Santa? The answer? Claustrophobic. Christmas is just around the corner, but you received a letter saying you didn't make it to Santa's nice list. You were naughty all year long and are not getting any presents unless you prove you are filled with Christmas spirit. Now, what would you say is the best way to do that? Praying, dancing in the middle of the street, or singing Christmas carols? Well, it's definitely the last option. Carols are the best way to spread Christmas cheer. Merry Christmas! Well, have you been looking for a chance to put on your detective hat? Well, here you go. A new portion of tricky riddles to sharpen your mind.
Yeah.
Melissa met her guests who came to her birthday party. Catherine came before Bob, Aaron after Rainan. Bob arrived before Rainan, and Timothy came after Aaron. So, which guest arrived last? Timothy was the last one to come. Now let's say you have 2 jugs. One of them holds exactly 3 gallons of water and the other holds 5 gallons. With the help of just these 2 jugs and a fire hose, how can you measure out exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 5-gallon jug to the top. Then pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. You now have 2 gallons of water remaining in the 5-gallon jug. Pour out the water from the 3-gallon jug and then pour the 2 gallons from the 5-gallon jug into the 3-gallon one. Finally, fill the 5-gallon jug to the top and pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. There was only enough space left for 1 more gallon in the 3-gallon jug, so you now have exactly 4 gallons in the 5-gallon jug. Look at this image attentively and try to find a mistake. There's no river on the other side of the bridge. Where does it disappear? Now, look at these men very closely. Can you figure out which of them is a fake doctor? The doctor on the left may be wearing casual clothes, but he has his badge on, which probably means he was called to work urgently and didn't have time to change. He's also holding a stethoscope. The doctor in the middle is holding a spoon. But even though it looks suspicious, he has just given a child patient some cough syrup. You can also see a badge on his uniform. As for the man on the right, he's not a doctor. There's no badge on his uniform. And if you examine him more attentively, you'll notice the police uniform under his white coat. He's most likely a police officer undercover. Christy poured herself a full cup of tea and drank half of it. Then she filled the cup with milk. Then she drank half of the drink again. Then she refilled it with milk again and drank the rest of it. Can you figure out if Christy drank more tea or more milk? She drank the same amount of tea and milk. Look, Christy ended up drinking all her tea since the cup was eventually empty. Christy refilled the milk 2 times, and every time it was half a cup of milk, totally a full cup of milk. Deceptor, a famous magician, announced that he could throw a ping-pong ball in such a way that it would go a short distance, come to a complete stop, and go in the opposite direction. He also clarified that he wouldn't bounce the ball off of any object or tie anything to it. And indeed, he managed to perform the trick. How did he do it? He threw the ball straight up into the air. Can you name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T? These days are Tuesday, Thursday, today, and tomorrow. Now, listen up. All statements are true except one. 3 days ago was not Friday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. In 5 days, it's a day off. Yesterday was not Saturday. So the question is, what day of the week is today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? It's Thursday. Let's see how we can figure it out. 3 days ago was not Friday. If this statement is true, then today is not Monday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. If it's true, then today is Thursday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. Then today is not Tuesday. It's a day off in 5 days. If this statement was true, today would be Monday or Tuesday. But in this case, the statement contradicts the first and third ones. It must be false. Yesterday was not Saturday. It means that today is not Sunday. Based on all this, we can conclude that today is Thursday. There were 2 plastic jugs filled with water. Can you put all the water into one barrel without using any dividers and still tell which water comes from which jug? You can do it by freezing the water in one or both jugs and then cutting the plastic away, leaving only the ice. After that, you can put the chunks of ice into the barrel. This way, you'll be able to tell which water comes from which jug. A farmer in Florida owns a beautiful pear tree. He supplies fruit to a nearby grocery store. One day, the store owner calls the farmer to check how much fruit is available for him to buy. The farmer knows that the main trunk has 24 branches. Each branch has 12 boughs, and each bough has 6 twigs. Since each twig bears 1 piece of fruit, how many plums will the farmer be able to sell? Unfortunately, none. At least not from this tree. A pear tree doesn't produce plums. You have 5 jars with pills. Each pill weighs 10 grams, except for contaminated pills contained in one jar. There, each pill weighs 9 grams. You have a scale, but can you tell which jar has the contaminated pills after making just one measurement? To find the contaminated pills, you should follow the following steps. Take out 1 pill from jar number 1, 2 pills from jar number 2, 3 pills from jar number 3, 4 pills from jar number 4, and 5 pills from jar number 5. Put all these 15 pills on the scale. The correct weight should be 150 grams. But since one of the jars has contaminated pills, the weight will definitely be less than 150 grams. If the weight is 149 grams, then jar number 1 has the contaminated pills, because there is only 1 pill like that. If the weight is 148 grams, then the contaminated pills are in jar number 2. If the weight is 147 grams, the contaminated pills are in jar number 3, and so on. Many, many years ago, one guy was captured by an evil witch who kept him in her house. There was a cellar door in the house, and the witch warned the guy not to open it because he was not ready to see what was behind it. Can you guess what was on the other side of the door that the witch didn't want the guy to see? The guy was actually locked in the cellar, and on the other side of the door was the rest of the house and the outside world. The witch just didn't want the guy to escape. One day, a boss told his employees, "I can fight and beat any man who works here." A new employee, a tall ex-prize fighter, decided to challenge the boss. Interestingly, the boss won the bet, even though he didn't defeat the man. What did the boss do? Not to lose face, he fired the new employee on the spot. This way, when he defeated the boss, he wasn't working in the company anymore. Marty and Jill wanted to copy 3 60-minute tapes. They have 2 tape recorders that will dub the tapes for them, so they can do 2 at a time. It takes 30 minutes for each side to complete. Therefore, in 1 hour, 2 tapes will be completed, and in another hour, the third will be done. Jill says all 3 tapes can be finished in 90 minutes. Can you figure out how it is possible? Let's call the tapes 1, 2, and 3 with sides A and B. In the first 30 minutes, the guys will work with 1A and 2A. In the second 30 minutes, they will record 1B and 3A. Now, tape 1 is completed. Finally, in the last half hour, they will do tape 2B and 3B.
Neil was one of the best watchmakers in town. He got a call from the police station one day, asking him for help to solve a crime. 2 burglars were caught robbing shops in town. Amongst the things they stole, there were 2 watches. One of the burglars claimed that the watch they stole was a fake, so the police contacted Neil to see if that was really true. Take a look at both watches. Can you help Neil figure out which one is fake and which one is real? The watch on the left is a fake. If you look closely, you'll see that the miniature arm is too long, so it can't pass around the entire clock when it moves. Maya was an undercover police officer. On a Saturday night, she was off duty and decided to go to the movies. When she arrived, she saw 2 women who looked pretty suspicious. She remembered that the police were tracking down a girl who had escaped from prison the week before. Take a look at both women. Can you tell if one has escaped prison recently? It's the lady on the left. Her prison uniform is peeking through her coat. I mean, she should have at least changed clothes by now, right? Beth arrived at school and one of her best friends showed her a picture. She told Beth that if she got the answer correctly, she would get a week's supply of free chocolate. The friend said that one of the people in the picture wasn't human. Can you help Beth figure out the answer? It's the boy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow, which means he's definitely not human. Ruby was traveling around India when she decided to stop for some tea. As soon as she walked inside the tea shop, the owner placed 2 teapots in front of her. He told her she would get a free cup of tea if she could figure out his riddle. He told her that the first teapot contained enough tea for 40 cups and asked to figure out, just by looking at the pot, how many cups of tea it could carry inside. Take a look at the image. Can you help Ruby figure out the answer? This is a tricky one. Probably the second teapot can only carry around 20 cups of tea. If you look closely, you'll see that the outlets of the first teapot is located in the middle of the pot. But the outlet of the second pot is located right at the bottom, so even if the pot is taller, it can't hold more water than the first one. After water hits the level of the outlet, it'll just start overflowing. Mary was walking in an enchanted forest when she met Randy, a magical unicorn. Mary asked the unicorn for some information, but he refused to talk to her unless she solved one of his riddles. He was a trickster and liked confusing people with his riddles. He told Mary that in a nearby field there were tigers and sheep. Usually one tiger could catch 3 sheep in 3 minutes. So he asked her how long it would take for 100 tigers to catch 100 sheep. Can you help Mary figure out the answer? It would still take 3 minutes because each tiger is still catching 1 sheep in 3 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's 3 tigers or 100. The unicorn was surprised by Mary's abilities and gave her another riddle to solve. He asked her to name the 5 days of the week without saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. She also couldn't say whether it was the first day of the week or the last. What do you think Mary answered here? She said the day before yesterday, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. Clever girl, huh? Brianna was traveling on business, and her company put her in one of the best hotels in town. She arrived from work late at night, exhausted. She was getting ready to go to bed when she heard a knock on the door. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a man standing outside. The man said he was sorry for bothering her, but the hotel database had crashed and he needed to recheck some of her information. Brianna said she would be back in a moment, got away from the door, and called security. She said there was someone in the hotel trying to rob her. Take a look at the image. How did she know the man was a robber? Look at the man's name tag. It's a female name. He is surely not the real hotel manager. Luca decided to throw a party for his best friends. He invited over 20 people to the party, but he only bought 9 candies. He told his friends he would leave the candies inside a pretty little box, and they could each get 1 candy. 9 people took 9 candies, but 1 candy was still in the box. How could that be possible? It's pretty simple. The last person took the candy and the box. This way, 1 candy remained in the box. Noah reported to the police that someone had stolen his red motorbike the previous night, right out of his garage. The police started to search for it and tracked 3 main suspects. Take a look at them. Which one stole Noah's motorbike? It's this guy on the right. Look closely. His motorbike is painted, but the paint is dripping and one can spot the old red color. He must have stolen it and painted it in a different color so as not to attract any attention. But you caught him. It's the finale of the Big Money Buzz Show, and Natalie is faced with a difficult task. There are 3 fish bowls, each one of them containing a different amount of gold bars inside. If she manages to put her hand inside one of the bowls and take it out, she can keep the gold bar. The first bowl has scalding hot water inside of it. The second is filled with flesh-burning acid. And the last bowl has a couple of venomous scorpions walking around. Which bowl should she choose? Natalie should just wait until the water cools down and grab the gold bar from the first bowl. Smart, huh? Bobby was blindfolded and put into a shaky van. When he woke up, he was alone in a dark, empty room. There was nobody there, but there were 3 envelopes on the floor. A post-it on top of the envelope said, "Each envelope contains a red capsule and 2 statements. In one of these envelopes, both statements are false. In another envelope, both statements are true. You have to choose the correct capsule to get out of this alive." He opened the first envelope, saw a capsule and the message: 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the second envelope. On the second envelope, the note said: 1. Don't take the candy from the first envelope. 2. Take the candy from the third envelope. And the last envelope said: 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the first envelope. Which capsule should Bobby take? He should trust the candy from the third envelope. Let's see why. The first message of the first envelope is true, while the second is false. Both messages from the second envelope are true. This leaves us with 2 false statements on the third envelope. The manager of a gift shop got a call from the police station. The police told him there was a burglar on the loose. He dressed up as the Joker and was robbing local shops. But since it was Halloween, a lot of people were walking dressed up as the Joker. At that moment, 4 Jokers entered the shop. The manager got suspicious, so he made the people stand in a line while he examined which one of them was the criminal. Take a look at the image. Can you guess which Joker is the real thief? The thief is the second Joker on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it.